Imagine a beacon, a solitary tower, piercing the darkest night. For sailors, it's a promise of safety, a warning against treacherous rocks. Now imagine that light burning bright, but the hands meant to tend it are gone, vanished. This isn't a ghost story. This is the true tale of Eilean Mor, a remote windswept rock in the North Atlantic where three men simply disappeared, leaving behind only an unsettling silence. Their mystery has haunted these waters for over a century. Our journey begins here with that chilling unsolved disappearance. Eilean Mor, say the name. It sounds ancient, doesn't it? It means the Big Isle. But don't picture a lush paradise. Eilean Mor is a jagged tooth of rock, rising from the unforgiving sea. It's one of the Flannan Isles, a tiny uninhabited archipelago off the west coast of Scotland. A place where the wind howls like a banshee, and the waves crash with the force of 1,000 hammers. This was the outpost. This was the duty station for men who stood between ships in disaster, men who guarded the light. These weren't ordinary men, they were seasoned keepers, trusted with a vital responsibility. There was Thomas Marshall, the second assistant, a stoic man known for his quiet efficiency. James Ducat, the principal keeper, experienced and respected, a true master of his craft. And Donald Macarthur, the first assistant, a man with a reputation for being quick-tempered but utterly devoted to his work. 3 men, 3 lives bound by the rhythm of the light, the isolation, and the relentless sea. They arrived in early December of 1900, ready for their shift. They would never leave. The first hint that something was wrong came on December 15, 1900. The steamer Archtor was sailing past the Flannan Isles. Its captain, a man named Holman, noted something strange. The Eilean Mor Lighthouse, a constant star in the maritime sky, was dark. No light, nothing. He reported it to the mainland. But the North Atlantic, even in December, is a cruel mistress. Storms raged, waves lashed. No relief vessel could set sail immediately. Days passed. Days of worry, days of wondering. The light remained dark. Finally, on December 26th, more than 10 days after the initial sighting, the relief vessel, the Star Hesperus Star, finally reached Eilean Mor. On board was Joseph Moore, a relief keeper, ready to take over duties. As the Star Hesperus Star approached, a chilling sight greeted them. The Eilean Mor lamp, which had been dark for days, was now burning brightly. A beacon of hope, or something far more sinister? The men on the Star Hesperus Star hailed the lighthouse. They blasted the ship's horn. No response. Only the shriek of gulls and the roar of the waves answered them. An eerie, unnatural silence hung over the island. Joseph Moore was the first to land. He stepped onto the rock, his heart pounding. He walked up the steep path to the lighthouse entrance. The gate was closed. The main door was unlocked. A shiver ran down his spine. He pushed it open. "Hello?" he called. His voice echoed, swallowed by the stone walls. Nothing. No answering call. No footsteps. Just the distant moan of the wind and the relentless crash of the sea. He climbed the spiral staircase, floor by floor, his boots clanking on the metal steps. He reached the lantern room. The lamp was immaculate, polished, burning brightly. But the keepers, they were gone. Moore searched the lighthouse, every room, every corner. The beds were unmade, suggesting the men had left suddenly, perhaps in the middle of the night. In the kitchen, a half-eaten meal sat on the table. A chair was overturned. A profound sense of unease settled over Moore. This wasn't just a departure. This was an abandonment. But why? And where? The logbook. That's where answers might lie. Moore found it. The last entry was dated December 15th. The same day the star Archtor star had reported the light dark. The entries before that were unsettling. They spoke of a fierce storm, unlike any the men had ever witnessed. Principal Keeper Ducat had written about the severity of the gale. Marshall, usually so composed, had described never having seen such a storm. And Macarthur, the hot-tempered one, was recorded as crying. Crying? A hardened lighthouse keeper, weeping from fear? It seemed impossible. And then, the final chilling entry, also from December 15th. Storm ended. God is over all. But the storm hadn't ended. And the men were gone. The lighthouse itself offered no clear answers. The oilskins, essential gear for any keeper venturing outside in a storm, were missing. 3 sets. But why would all three men leave the safety of the lighthouse during a raging gale? And if they were caught outside, where were their bodies? The rocks around Eilean Mor are treacherous, but the sea usually gives up its dead. Not this time. The lifeboat, secured high above the waterline, was still in its davits, untouched, no signs of a struggle, no broken glass, no forced entry, just an empty echoing sentinel. Superintendent Robert Muirhead, the head of the Northern Lighthouse Board, arrived 3 days later to conduct a full investigation. He was a man of logic, of reason. But even he was baffled. He meticulously scoured the island, interviewed everyone involved, examined every detail. His official report noted the missing oilskins, the untouched lifeboat, the strange logbook entries. He theorized that a massive rogue wave might have swept the men away while they were attempting to secure something on the western landing stage. But that still didn't explain why all three would be outside during a storm, leaving the light unattended, nor the strange logbook entries. And where were the bodies? For over 120 years, the mystery of Eilean Mor has persisted. It's a tale whispered in Scottish pubs, debated by maritime historians, and pondered by anyone who hears it. Was it a rogue wave? Was it something darker? A personal quarrel that turned violent? A haunting presence from the ancient island itself? The North Atlantic holds its secrets close, but the silence of Eilean Mor is deafening. It calls to us, inviting us to look closer, to dig deeper. Because this isn't just a story of three vanished men. It's a story about the raw power of nature, the fragility of human life, and the enduring grip of the unknown. And the deeper we look into the Eilean Mor mystery, the more unsettling the answers become. What hidden clues did the island truly hold, and what chilling possibilities did Muirhead's investigation really uncover? Join us as we journey into the heart of this enigma, seeking to understand what truly happened on that remote, windswept rock. December 26, 1900. A crisp, unforgiving North Atlantic wind whipped across the waves. The relief vessel, the Hesperus, battled the churning sea. On board, Captain James Harvey felt a growing unease. For days, the lighthouse on Eilean Mor had been silent. Its powerful beam, a beacon of hope for sailors, had vanished. Now, the Hesperus pushed through the swells, carrying relief keeper Joseph Moore and his crew. Their mission, to finally reach the remote island and uncover the truth. As Eilean Mor emerged from the mist, a chilling sight greeted them. The lighthouse stood stark against the sky. No light, no smoke from the chimney, no flag fluttering from the mast, just an unsettling, profound silence. Captain Harvey blew the ship's whistle, a piercing shriek that tore through the air. No response. The island seemed to hold its breath. Landing on Eilean Mor was always a challenge. The jagged cliffs, the treacherous currents. But this time, the difficulty felt different. It was laced with dread. Joseph Moore, a seasoned keeper, led the way. He scrambled up the steep, narrow path, his heart pounding not just from exertion, but from a cold, creeping fear. The path was undisturbed. No footprints, no signs of recent activity. It was as if time itself had stopped. They reached the lighthouse door. It stood ajar, unlocked. A small detail, perhaps, but it sent shivers down their spines. Keepers never left the door unlocked. It was a rule, a matter of safety. But this was Eilean Mor, and rules no longer seemed to apply. Moore pushed it open slowly. The silence inside was deafening. It was a silence that screamed. The first thing they noticed was the kitchen. A half-eaten meal sat on the table, cold, untouched. Plates, food, everything abandoned mid-bite. A chair lay overturned on the floor, as if someone had scrambled away in a sudden, violent hurry. Was it an accident? A struggle? The scene offered no clear answers, only more questions. Every object seemed to whisper of a presence that had been there moments before, then vanished into thin air. Moore moved through the living quarters, beds unmade, personal belongings scattered, but no signs of a struggle. No broken glass, no overturned furniture, just an eerie, inexplicable mess. It was as if the men had simply stepped out for a moment, never to return. Where were Thomas Marshall, James Ducat, and Donald Macarthur? The three experienced keepers. Vanished without a trace. Up in the lamp room, the lantern was clean, polished, ready for use. The oil reservoir was full. Everything was in perfect working order, but the light was out. The last man on duty had performed his tasks, then simply disappeared. It defied logic. Lighthouse keepers were meticulous. They were dedicated. They would never abandon their post, especially not in such a haphazard way. Then came the logbook, the official record of life on Eilean Mor. Mor found it on its stand, open. He turned the pages, his fingers tracing the familiar handwriting of Principal Keeper Thomas Marshall. The entries were chilling. They spoke of a storm. A terrible, raging storm. December 12th, severe winds the likes of which I have never seen in 20 years. Marshall had written. This was unusual. Marshall was a man of steel. For him to record such a strong sentiment meant something truly extraordinary. December 13th, the entries grew more desperate. Storm still raging. Donald Macarthur is crying. William Ducat is quiet. We are praying. Macarthur, the newest keeper, was known for his calm demeanor. And William Ducat? The log mentioned a William, but the third keeper on duty was James Ducat. Was this a mistake? A different person? Or a code? The words painted a picture of terror, of men pushed to their absolute limits. And then, the final entry, December 15th. Storm ended. God is over all. A strange, almost cryptic message. A sense of relief, yes, but also a lingering unease. It was the last official word from Eilean Mor. But here's where the mystery deepened, where the clues began to actively confuse star. Captain Harvey immediately checked his own ship's logs. He consulted weather reports from the mainland, from other ships in the area. What he found was astonishing. Impossible, even. There had been no severe storm, not on December 12th, not on the 13th, not at any point between December 12th and December 15th. The weather charts showed calm seas, light winds, a gentle swell, nothing more. Nearby vessels reported smooth sailing. The mainland recorded pleasant, mild conditions. The raging storm described in the Eilean Mor logbook simply did not exist. How could three experienced keepers, isolated on a rock in the North Atlantic, record such terrifying events when the entire region was calm? Were they hallucinating? Were they lying? Why? And if the storm was a fabrication, what truly happened in those final perplexing hours? The overturned chair, the untouched meal, the unlocked door, they all pointed to a sudden, unexpected departure. But where and how? The two sets of oilskins were missing, suggesting two men had gone outside, but one set remained, neatly hung. Why would one man stay behind during a storm that didn't exist? No boats were missing from the island, no signs of a struggle, no broken glass, no blood, no footprints leading anywhere but back into the lighthouse. It was as if the men had been plucked from their lives, leaving behind a perfectly preserved tableau of their final, impossible moments. Every single clue, instead of providing answers, only deepened the enigma. It hinted at an event that defied natural explanation. What force could cause such confusion? What power could make three men vanish without a trace, leaving behind a ghost story etched in an official logbook? The more Captain Harvey and Joseph Mor investigated, the less sense anything made. The lighthouse held its secrets tight, its walls echoing with an unbearable silence. What truly unfolded on Eilean Mor? The answer remained elusive, a whispered promise carried on the relentless North Atlantic wind. And the theories? They were about to get very strange indeed. The North Atlantic, a vast, unforgiving expanse, and on its edge, Eilean Mor, a lonely rock guarding a secret whispered on the wind, carried by the waves, but never fully revealed. Three men vanished: James Ducat, Thomas Marshall, Donald Macarthur, gone, without a trace. Their lighthouse, a beacon of safety, became a monument to the unknown. We've pieced together the fragments of that chilling discovery in December 1900. The untouched meals, the stopped clock, the overturned birdcage, the locked gate. Now we confront the abyss of speculation. We plunge into the theories, the plausible, the terrifying, and the downright outlandish. Can any truly account for the inexplicable void left behind? The most immediate, and perhaps most rational explanation for the disappearance points to the sea itself. The North Atlantic is a brutal mistress. Her moods are swift, her power absolute. Rogue waves, gigantic, unpredictable walls of water that can rise from seemingly calm seas, towering over anything in their path. Could such a monstrous wave have swept the three keepers away? Consider the evidence. When relief keeper Joseph Mor finally reached Eilean Mor on December 26, 1900, the island showed signs of immense struggle. The west landing platform, usually some 110 feet above sea level, was severely damaged. Iron railings were bent, a concrete landing slab ripped from its foundations, its weight estimated at over a ton. Boxes, usually stored much higher, were strewn across the island. The storm of December 12 to 17 had been particularly vicious, raging for days. Lighthouse records from nearby stations confirmed its ferocity. Was it possible that all three men, perhaps responding to an emergency, were caught outdoors, overwhelmed by a sudden devastating wave? Thomas Marshall's final log entry, scribbled on December 15th, spoke of the storm's violence. Storm continued, wind steady. Never seen such a storm. He also mentioned Ducat being quiet and Macarthur crying. This has often been interpreted as the men being in distress due to the weather. Perhaps they were trying to secure equipment or check the moorings when the sea claimed them. It's a compelling theory. The sheer power of the ocean, the remote location, the damaged infrastructure. It aligns with the raw, untamed nature of Eilean Mor. But if a rogue wave swept them away, why no bodies? Why no life jackets? No debris from their personal effects? The ocean gives up its secrets slowly, if at all. Yet for three men to vanish so completely, leaving only a cryptic log and a silent tower, it still feels incomplete. And what about that locked gate? The keepers would have known the dangers. When all three have left the safety of the lighthouse at the same time, in the midst of a terrible storm, without securing their only refuge, it stretches belief. If the sea didn't claim them, perhaps something more sinister did. The human mind, isolated and under immense pressure, can be a fragile thing. What if the mystery wasn't about a natural disaster, but a man-made one? Mutiny, murder, a desperate struggle born of solitude and fear. Life as a lighthouse keeper was harsh. Long stretches of isolation, confined spaces, the endless drone of the wind and waves. Personality clashes were inevitable. Could the isolation have pushed one of the keepers over the edge? Thomas Marshall's unsettling log entries offer a glimpse into the psychological toll. He wrote on December 13th that the men were all feeling very strange, and then the chilling note about Donald Macarthur, usually a seasoned and stoic keeper, crying. James Ducat, the principal keeper, was known to be a stern man. Macarthur, by contrast, had a reputation for being hot-headed. Was there a conflict? A simmering tension that finally erupted during the relentless storm. Imagine the scene. The claustrophobic confines of the lighthouse, the constant roar of the gale, nerves frayed to breaking point, a heated argument, a push, a shove, a moment of madness. Could one keeper have attacked another, and then, in a fit of despair or panic, disposed of the bodies and then himself? Or perhaps, in the chaos, a struggle led to all three falling from the cliff edge. This theory attempts to explain the complete absence of the men. No bodies, because they were deliberately hidden or lost to the sea after a violent act. Yet, there were no signs of a struggle within the lighthouse. No blood, no overturned furniture, no broken glass. Joseph Mor's detailed report mentioned only the overturned birdcage, an odd detail, but hardly evidence of a deadly fight. For three men to engage in a struggle so complete that it leaves no trace, and then for them all to vanish, seems almost as improbable as a rogue wave plucking them from the island without a ripple. The mutiny theory, while chilling, lacks concrete evidence. It relies heavily on inference and the grim possibilities of human nature under duress. But what if the explanation lies beyond the realm of the rational? Beyond rogue waves and human frailties? What if something truly extraordinary happened on Eilean Mor? The remote, almost otherworldly setting of the Flannan Isles has always been fertile ground for folklore and ancient legends. Could something ancient have stirred from the deep? Sea monsters. The very phrase conjures images of colossal beasts from the darkest myths. The kraken, the leviathan, creatures of unimaginable size and power, lurking in the abyssal trenches of the North Atlantic. For centuries, sailors have spun tales of encounters with the unknown. Could a previously unseen monstrous marine creature have emerged from the depths, snatching the three keepers from the island? It sounds fantastical, the stuff of horror novels and B-movies. Yet, when all logical explanations fail, the human mind often turns to the mythical. The vast, unexplored oceans still hold countless secrets. Could Eilean Mor have witnessed one of them? Or perhaps the explanation isn't from the deep, but from the heavens. Alien abduction. For some, the sudden, complete disappearance of the keepers, leaving no trace, no bodies, points to a non-terrestrial intervention. The idea of advanced beings from another world, silently descending upon the remote island, taking the men for reasons unknown, holds a strange appeal for those who seek to explain the unexplainable. No evidence, of course. Not a single piece of wreckage, no strange markings, no eyewitness accounts, just the chilling void left by three vanished lives. But for those who believe, the absence of evidence becomes evidence itself, proof of a clean, sophisticated operation. Then there are the whispers of the supernatural. The Flannan Isles are steeped in history, some of it ancient and dark. Could the island itself be cursed? Haunted? Perhaps the keepers disturbed something ancient, something malevolent, that had slumbered beneath the rocks for centuries. Tales of ghosts and vengeful spirits have always clung to isolated places like lighthouses. Joseph Moore himself reported an unsettling silence upon his arrival, a feeling of dread that permeated the air. He claimed to hear voices, the names of the vanished keepers, carried on the wind. Was it the strain of the mystery playing tricks on his mind, or was there something truly spectral at play? We sift through these possibilities. The raw power of nature, the dark potential of the human heart, the fantastical creatures of the deep, the silent visitors from beyond the stars, the ancient curses of a forgotten past. Each theory attempts to fill the terrifying silence left behind. Each offers a narrative, a reason, however remote. But none truly fit. None truly account for every chilling detail. The locked gate, the untouched food, the quiet despair in the logbook, the utter, absolute void where three men once stood. The lighthouse still stands, its beacon still sweeps across the waves, but the enigma of Eilean Mor endures. A ghost story without a ghost, a crime without a body, a mystery that continues to defy explanation. And as the years turn into decades, the truth seems only to sink deeper into the cold, dark waters of the North Atlantic. But what if the answer wasn't lost at sea, or in the stars, but hidden in plain sight? What if the official investigation, the one meant to bring clarity, only served to deepen the shadows? The North Atlantic, a place of raw, untamed power, and nestled within its churning embrace, a tiny, unforgiving island. Eilean Mor, for over a century, its name has been whispered, a chilling legend etched deep into the very heart of maritime history. This isn't just a story. It's a scar on the collective memory of the sea, a riddle that refuses to be solved. Imagine it. December 1900. Three men vanish without a trace, not a shipwreck, not a storm that claimed their vessel. They were inside a fortress of stone, a beacon of light against the encroaching darkness. Thomas Marshall, James Ducat, Donald Macarthur. Their names are more than entries in a missing persons file. They are the ghosts of Eilean Mor, forever haunting the desolate beauty of the Flannan Isles. This isn't a police report you can neatly close. It's an open wound, a constant reminder of how fragile life can be when pitted against something immense, something unknowable. The tale itself feels ripped from a Gothic novel, a brand new lighthouse standing tall and proud, a testament to human ingenuity. Its purpose, to guide ships through treacherous waters. Its reality, a stage for an impossible disappearance. On December 15, 1900, a passing steamer, the Archtor, noted the Eilean Mor light was out. A simple observation, yet it sent shivers down the spines of those who understood the implications. Lighthouse lights star do not star go out, not unless something is terribly wrong. Days later, on December 26th, the relief vessel Hesperus finally reached the island. Joseph Moore, the relief keeper, stepped ashore, his boots crunching on the rocky ground. What he found, or rather Star didn't Star find, would create a mystery that endures to this very day. The lighthouse door was unlocked. Inside, everything was eerily normal. Beds unmade, a half-eaten meal, a chair overturned, but no men, no sign of struggle, no bodies, just the vast empty echo of their absence. This wasn't a crime scene with clues, it was a void. Why does this star particular enigma still captivate us? It's not the only unexplained disappearance in history. Yet Eilean Mor holds a unique grip on our imaginations. Perhaps it's the sheer isolation, a tiny speck of land, miles from anywhere, surrounded by the churning, freezing waters of the North Atlantic. It strips away all pretense of safety. It confronts us with the terrifying truth. Even in our most fortified places, we are vulnerable. The lighthouse, designed to conquer the darkness, became a tomb of questions. We crave answers. We demand logic. But Eilean Mor offers neither. It simply stands, a silent monument to the unknown, a persistent whisper in the wind. The ocean. It's a beautiful, terrifying force. And around Eilean Mor, it's particularly savage. Picture it. Towering cliffs, constantly battered by colossal waves. Winds that scream like banshees, tearing at anything in their path. The North Atlantic isn't just water, it's a living, breathing entity, capable of immense destruction. The lighthouse keepers lived on the very edge of this power, their lives a constant dance with the elements. They understood the sea's fury better than anyone. They knew its moods, its deceptive calm, its sudden murderous rage. So what could have happened that even they couldn't escape? Was it a rogue wave, a monstrous wall of water, unlike anything seen before, that simply swept them away? The sheer scale of such an event is almost impossible to comprehend. Imagine a wave so tall, so powerful, it could breach the defenses of a lighthouse built to withstand the worst storms. It's a terrifying thought, a reminder that nature always holds the ultimate trump card. This story isn't just about three men. It's about us, about humanity's fragile place in a vast, indifferent universe. We build, we innovate, we strive to control our environment. We erect lighthouses, send ships across oceans, explore the deepest trenches and the highest peaks. We tell ourselves we are safe, protected by our technology, our knowledge. But Eilean Mor shatters that illusion. It reminds us that even with all our advancements, we are still small, still susceptible to the raw, untamed forces that govern our planet. The lighthouse keepers were at the zenith of human resilience, guardians against the night, yet they vanished. Their disappearance screams a stark warning. No matter how strong our walls, how bright our lights, there are forces out there that can simply erase us, leaving nothing but an empty space and an echoing question. And those questions, they gnaw at us. They refuse to let go. What truly happened on Eilean Mor in December 1900? Was it a monstrous wave, as some theories suggest, dragging the men into the abyss? Was it a freak accident, a misstep on the treacherous rocks, amplified by the raging storm? Or was it something else entirely? Something more sinister? Tales of madness born of isolation, of a desperate fight, of a conspiracy. Every theory, no matter how outlandish, finds fertile ground in the absence of answers. We dissect the few clues: the overturned chair, the unmade bed, the mysteriously missing oilskins, the log entries that hinted at a storm of unprecedented ferocity. Each detail is scrutinized, twisted, reinterpreted, yet the core mystery remains. A gaping hole in history, an unsolved puzzle that mocks our desire for closure. The legend of Eilean Mor refuses to fade. It is seeped into our culture, inspiring books, songs, even films. It's the kind of story that gets passed down, whispered around campfires, debated in hushed tones. New generations stumble upon it, drawn in by the sheer audacity of the unknown. The lighthouse itself, still standing, automated now, no longer needing human keepers, remains a stark, silent witness. It's a monument not just to navigation, but to the enduring power of a mystery that challenges our understanding, tests our courage, and reminds us that some secrets are simply too vast, too deep, to ever truly be revealed. The Eilean Mor incident isn't just a historical footnote, it's a profound meditation on life, death, and the terrifying majesty of the natural world. It whispers tales of the ocean's terrifying power, humanity's vulnerability, and questions destined to remain unanswered. But while the official investigations closed their books long ago, the human imagination never does. The theories persist, swirling like the very mists around the Flannan Isles, and some of those theories delve into realms far stranger, far more unsettling than any storm at sea. What if the ocean wasn't the only thing these men were fighting? What if something else, something unseen star, was waiting in the shadows? Subscribe to Study Z for more contents like these.